Hey everyone, it's Helen from SMB Deal Hunters. Today we're going to talk with Michael Vassar about a deal he recently closed in the SMB Deal Hunter Pro program. It was a $1.6 million deal. We helped Michael source it off market, and it took 10 months from when Michael started working with us to close. Thanks, Michael, for joining us. Today, we're going to touch on what Michael was doing before he bought this business and took over, some of the challenges of the search, as well as how post-close acquisition life has been, which I'm excited to dive into. So let's jump in. All right,
Hey,
Michael.
Ellen.
All right, let's first talk about sort of, what we were doing before. What's your background in? What were you doing before jumping into, business acquisition, and how long maybe you've been trying to do this on your own?
Well, I first really got started in or got interested in ETA when I was a corporate accountant. I worked for one small business that was actually an IT managed services firm that was able to grow very, very quickly in a completely bootstrapped model. And we ended up doing like a valuation and sort of seeing what it would be worth on the open market, and that really opened my eyes to the potential for wealth creation in this niche. um, I then worked for a software startup and a couple of construction companies and kind of thought I might convince my superiors to look at buying small businesses, but that never really happened. So in 2024, I just decided to try on my own,
Love that.
and I found you all.
Love that. And when you were trying on your own, had you been doing this for a little bit before you joined the program? What did that look like? Or did you dive in right away?
I had not done any search on my own. I had just, back in 2022, I think was when I discovered the Buy Then Build book and got some decent knowledge about the SBA loan program. But when I got serious about giving it a shot in 2024, I could tell that the hardest part would be actually finding a business to buy. And so when I came across SMB, like I think that was the only type of vendor that I knew of that would actually source leads, and I knew that was worth an investment. So um, was pleasantly surprised with all the coaching that came along with it. But I just knew that that would be worth throwing some money at and having someone else do all the outreach.
That's helpful. I'm curious, what was kind of going through your head as you were making the decision to join, and if there were any things sort of holding you back, or maybe biggest thoughts holding you back from joining.
I think I think it was really just yeah, I was hesitant, but that was really me just deciding whether or not I was going to do this at all. I knew that if I did, it would be a long-term process, and it would be potentially really expensive in the sense that all I get is an education. But I had I had some money to waste on an education, not waste, but invest. And so I said, well, that's not such a bad thing to walk away with if that's the worst case scenario. Um, and then, just went from there. But I wasn't hesitant at all about signing up to essentially pay for consulting or coaching, just because in the past I've always felt like when I want to learn something new, it's always 10 times slower when I do it myself. So
Good for you. I guess my next question is really, can you name some of the most frustrating or memorable challenges you went through during this search, as you were going, from start to finish, and maybe how we were able to be helpful.
well, for me, I think initially what I was finding is that I probably on paper probably looked kind of mediocre as a buyer, like not bad, but not impressive. And I definitely had a few brokers and even the top tier banks kind of say like, go somewhere else, not telling me not to do it, but go down market a little bit. And that made me realize I will need to jump on the first business or two that looks good. I'll need to jump on that and move quickly. And then also, if it's off market, that's probably my sweet spot just because there'll be less competition. So when this lead came through, I knew I just quickly wrote up an LOI and went for it from there. Frustrating beyond kind of the competition that I was facing would have been, well, I mean, really, one of these sellers had good financials, but one of them just didn't understand them very well, and that was the person that I liaised with the most. Also, I think I don't know, the bank financing process was not super frustrating, really. There was one hiccup right before I got my commitment letter where we had to basically change the terms in a minor way, but the sellers ended up receiving less cash up front, which really freaked me out. I thought about maybe trying to go with another bank, but ended up just, pitching them on it, and it wasn't as big a deal as I thought it would be. They were still happy to move forward. The actual purchase contract took a lot longer than I expected to, which we didn't even really get into until I had a commitment letter. So I could have saved myself a lot of frustration by writing a much more detailed LOI. However, I don't really know if that would have, that's a good way to miss a deal too. So I don't know if I should have been more detailed with my LOI, and that would have saved me time and frustration. If it had, I'm assuming that I would have still cleared the hurdle of getting exclusivity and going down the road with these sellers to begin with. Yeah, that's
No,
it.
that's thanks for sharing. Can you name some of maybe the with those challenges, some of the maybe the top most valuable things you got out of working with us, out of the program?
Well, I would say the ease of access is the best part of it. I always got an extremely fast response, like even on weekends, which I didn't really expect, but it would happen. And there are a lot of little hiccups along the way that seem major while you're doing them, but having someone with experience like you all to quickly respond to whatever the hiccup is boosts your confidence enormously. So you just keep rolling when you have that ability to get on the Slack channel or to go to a live meeting twice a week. So
Nice. Anything else that I haven't that maybe haven't mentioned in terms of things that were maybe helpful for you that you got out of this experience?
Let's see. Um, I think that just actually having fellow searchers in a large volume, really. I mean, it seemed like there were a ton of people kind of in my cohort, so I was able to message with them and commiserate or learn from them, and also be inspired when you see someone that's further along actually, you know, getting an LOI at first and then getting their commitment letter and then closing a deal. I mean, that really boosts your confidence. And then you add that on top of having expertise to help you with each question that comes up. That confidence will probably keep you moving forward, whereas you might throw in the towel without it.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I guess let's transition um, to the actual business itself. Love to chat more about it. What's the business? How'd you come across it? Tell us what you loved about it, and tell us what you continue to maybe like about the business, and maybe how you structure the deals, or some of those deal dynamics as well.
What I loved about the business is SEO, search engine optimization, paid advertising, Google AdWords, and social media, and also web design that is optimized for both of those. Our client base is mainly law firms, a little over almost 60%. We have two domains, justlegalmarketing.com and Digital Coast Marketing. It's all one unit, but that kind of delineates between the two types of clients. What I really liked about it more than anything was that the customer base with this particular firm was really sticky. They had been, you know, the average customer lifetime value was truly over 3 years, and that just made me rest easy that people were happy spending their money with this company. And also, it is I would prefer, as anyone does, kind of a recurring revenue model. And then the cherry on top was that it's remote, which I was prepared to move. And I thought I would, as most people do, but not having to do that was made me run faster in the direction of this deal.
That's great. Justlegalmarketing.com, digitalcoastmarketing.com. Love it. Let's talk a little bit more about now that you're on the other side. How does it feel finally being a business owner, having acquired a business, any sort of I guess it's been what, almost 3 months now, almost 90 days. You're just getting through that initial transition period. How does it feel finally getting through that gauntlet?
It feels kind of surreal, but it also feels sort of like, and this has probably just happened in the last 30 days at the most, it is starting to feel motivating, in the sense that I can look back on other times in my career when I was really learning a lot and really being challenged, and actually looking forward to going to work because I knew that I had a challenge, but I also felt like it was surmountable. So that feeling of skipping to work is kind of there, even though at the same time, if I think about it too hard, the weight of the responsibility can be a lot. But and that's what I signed up for, and I like it. There's a lot of responsibility, but a lot of upside. So it feels like you're at the start of a long, almost like adventure, for lack of a better term.
Oh, that's great. And I forgot to ask this, but share a little bit more about the deal size, SD multiple, whatever you feel comfortable with, structure, what you guys landed on there.
Yeah, we it was 4x earnings. They have had like incredibly stable financial performance, kind of just flat, like very similar revenue and profit for the last 3 years. I didn't focus on going back much beyond that. And also there were no add backs, tax returns matched up with the P&L to a T. Um, you know, you always kind of look back and I think wonder if you could have gotten a better price, but I kind of felt like for my I would like to continue doing this, and I think there's sort of like a price of admission to get started, and the sooner you get started, the better off you'll be. So I didn't have a problem really paying kind of at the high end of what this asset class goes for. Once I got to know, once I got comfortable really with the stickiness of the client base, I felt like there would be time, and the fact that actually this business didn't have any go-to-market motion. It just leads to trickle in right now, kind of on their own from our own web presence. That gave me the confidence that I would have some time to learn how to grow it.
Oh, that's exciting. And I'm sure it would have, marketing agencies I think are very hot right now. I'm sure it would have been even more competitive.
I didn't realize that. Are they? Oh.
Yeah, no, I think if it were an on-market deal, I'm sure it would have been bid up more than that. So
I'm sure the sellers think that.
That's great. I'm curious, how has your sort of work-life lifestyle changed since, taking this over full time? What does your day-to-day look like now?
Well, unfortunately, I would say that I get up and put out fires a lot too much right now. but I'm confident that won't be the case going, in perpetuity. Another aspect of it is a lot of our operations are overseas. So there's a little bit, I'm amazed at our team's ability or willingness to work odd hours. That just seems to be the expectation, and they are happy to do it. My day to day really is, I would say at the moment, is just trying to focus on securing all the relationships that we have and making sure that everyone is getting what they expect to get from us. So that can be, making sure that a minor support ticket didn't get lost in the shuffle, or it could be trying to communicate a new SEO strategy. So it's a wide range right now.
That's great. And, do you feel like 90 days in, you have a better grasp of the business at this point, or you're already trying to implement new ideas and strategies, or are you just still trying to absorb it all?
I mainly absorb it all, but I'm definitely trying to educate myself as much as possible on, how to start getting our clients into the like Google AI responses and Chat GPT responses, because that's definitely where everything is headed. So there's that, but I would say that the new initiatives are kind of really just getting sales up and running. I mean, that's the biggest one right now. We're gonna try cold email and go from there.
That's great. I guess the good news is, because your revenue is recurring, there's no urgent need to immediately start generating leads. I mean, you guys have existing customers, which is nice.
Yeah, it is.
Um, Michael, I want to be sensitive to your time. My final question is just, what would you tell someone who's watching this right now, unsure about, taking the next step to work with us and our team? What do you have to say to them?
I would say it's definitely worth the investment and the time. You will learn, no matter what happens in terms of making an acquisition. Even if I hadn't made one, I would have been very happy with the experience, and felt like the money I spent, I had gotten back completely, and even more so in terms of what I learned. Because I think at some point it would have led to an acquisition, and that that is extremely valuable.
Thank you, Michael. Michael, thanks again for your time today. Really excited for you and excited to continue following along this journey and seeing where you take the business. So if Michael's story sounded anything like what you've been going through, then our pro program might be a great fit for you. Just click on the link on this page to learn more.